Just 1 minute. I'm not plugged in yet. I was watching Bill Armstrong's funeral, and I'm running late again. And I may cut this out and I may not. But this is John Wren, and this is the Startup Show here each Friday to talk about things that might be helpful to you if you're starting in a new direction with your work. We'd like to help you do more good work, we say at the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. And by good work, we mean work that provides a necessary and useful product or service, an adequate income for all concerned, and an opportunity for personal growth. Some people think the best form of adult education is to start your own business or to work with someone who is. And we'd like to help connect you, and we'd like to help you get off to a good start. We're also trying to be helpful to someone that's just trying to get a new career started. Maybe you want to start your own law practice, an accounting practice, or maybe you just want to work for a large accounting firm. In some ways, the difference between working for a large corporation and working for yourself is just a matter of who finances it. I mean, it's slightly more than that in a larger organization. There are other issues you have to deal with, but you still have to paddle your own canoe if you're going to do good work. And we think we can be helpful to people in both areas. So if you're wanting to do more good work, you're at the right place. And we also have meetings every Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock in downtown Denver, 16th Street Mall at Market Street, the Panera Bread Lodo. And we have other meetings. Socrates Cafe follows at 6 o'clock, that same place. And there's a Socrates Cafe at the University of Denver on Saturday. And on Monday, Root and Branch. If you're interested in the spiritual way of living, we talk about 12 steps in meditation as they are applied to particular problems. So if you're struggling with a problem, come and see us at Root and Branch. For all these, you can check out the website at meetup.com/small-biz-chamber, or on our site, just smallbizchamber.org. Or if that's all confusing, just give me a call, 303-861-1447. Small Business Chamber of Commerce, sponsor of this show. We'd like to help you do more good work. Now, this is John Wren. I've been involved in a lot of startups. I've written a little book on startups, Daring Mighty Things. You can get it on Amazon for 99 cents. I'll give you $1 back if you buy it and don't find it helpful. Daring Mighty Things talks about the 4 phases of startup. And I'm about to rewrite it and would like your startup story to be part of that. So we're going to have people on the show here tell their story, and then that will be in the back of the fully revised second edition that we're going to be bringing out soon. So if you'd like to be on the show here, possibly have your story in the back of the book, give me a call Monday, 303-861-1447. Now today, the topic is going to be 2 things. One, Bill Armstrong. His funeral is online, Cherry Hills Community Church. If you just Google Cherry Hills Community Church, Bill Armstrong, I'm sure the connection will come right up for you. It's worth watching. His daughter Ann, his son Will both spoke. Walt Klein, others. Really, really was a great event. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I just couldn't be there and do this show at the same time. And we hold ourselves out as being here every Friday live for those who are starting in a new direction. And we may have nobody watching right now, but this go up as a recording, and 300, 400, 500 people tend to tune in. And what we encourage people to do is not become part of some large organization. We say if we're successful at our Idea Cafe startup workshops, you'll be too busy to come back next week. And that's true of this show too. But when you're starting, tune in. Now this could be possibly you've already got a business started, but you have a new project, a new campaign that you're going to start. We try to focus on startup. And Bill Armstrong started many different things. He started more businesses than I knew about. They outlined some at the funeral. He had started KOSI radio with his father. He had started a very successful political campaign, so he knew a lot about startup. And he also had a very strong faith life. And I think Bill knew that it's not the plan, planning, Eisenhower said, the plan is nothing, but planning is everything. So thinking about what we're going to do, yes, but the formal, ritualistic business plan that we're all taught to do in graduate business school just doesn't seem to be the way that successful businesses actually get started. And Amar Bahidi was the first one in academia, I think, to notice this. Now, Sarah Sarasvathy inspired Len Babson, president of Babson College, to write Just Start, which is pretty much what I wrote in my book 20 years ago in some ways. That businesses don't start the way the SBA says they should start. And Bill Armstrong knew that. Now, I wish I had have worked with him more closely looking at the SBA. When he was in office, yeah, and they do some good work. Disaster relief, I think they're just outstanding. But as far as startup is concerned, we at some point are going to have to take a hard look at what it is that's causing this fall off in startups. And startups are down. Also, the rate of marriage is down because of what we've done to the institution of marriage, and especially on the men's side of things. It can be a very unfair thing to get into until you're absolutely sure that you are marrying someone who's committed to you and that it's a lifelong, it's just so popular today to say, things change, you grow apart. I'll tell you what, Bill Armstrong didn't. He and Ellen were a team. And that's what nearly every speaker today at the funeral talked about, is what a team they were in everything that they did. And it was Ellen and Bill and Jesus. Now, it's inspirational. Google Cherry Hills Community Church. That's about all I'm going to say about Bill Armstrong here, but I have already written on johnwren.com about him, and I expect I'll be writing some more this week. And I'd be very interested in seeing your thoughts there too. So Bill Armstrong, rest in peace, 79 years old. Thank you, good and faithful servant, for all that you did for so many people. Mistakes, yes. And I may write about some of the mistakes too. I don't think anybody took maybe a careful enough look at one particular area, but I want to verify some facts first, and I'll be putting them up on it as I find them on johnwren.com. But I want to make sure I'm right before I put down what I'd had a personal conversation with Bill about, and I think it needs to be known. So, Caucus Corp. We've announced, it's been in some newspapers that we're developing this organization, so-called organization, to be a third way of participating in our Colorado caucus system. If you're an unaffiliated voter, you have tremendous power if you understand the system. So we're going to be encouraging people to be unaffiliated, but be part of Caucus Corp. And we're only wanting fair-minded people who are there to help their neighbors understand our Colorado political system and not to grind some political axe. I was active in No Labels. When it first started, it seemed like a great idea. Instead of branding people Republicans or Democrats, let's talk about things as rational human beings and not just argue the party line. I think there's a need for the party line. I'm not against partisanship. There need to be good Republicans, there need to be good Democrats. But Caucus Corp will be unaffiliated voters, number one. Number two, they're fair-minded. They're not ideologues of the right or the left, but they see the good in both political parties and they see the need for the partisan process. So that's number two. And number three, and this is inspired by watching Bill Armstrong's funeral, and if you watch it online, you'll see why. Our motto is going to be Jesus, 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 Jesus. Now, if anyone objects to that, they don't need to participate with us, but that'll be expressed differently in every political precinct across the state. We'd be glad to have people join in with us, but generally it will mean gathering with 12 people from your precinct who are interested as you are in strengthening the Colorado Caucus. And what we all have in common is Jesus. And so our motto, Bill had developed a habit. I had no idea where it came from, but at his funeral, I finally heard, thank you, Annie, for telling that story. And our motto is going to be Jesus, 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 in honor of Bill Armstrong, who is being buried today in a private ceremony after this tremendous celebration of his life at Cherry Hills Community Church. Bill, I first met the day after I was elected Colorado State Chairman of College Republicans. I was at the University of Denver. Bill had just been elected his first term in the U.S. House of Representatives in Washington. And bright and early that first day that I'm in office, Bill calls me and introduced himself. Invited me to come by his office. I got my picture taken with him, which is one of my most treasured possessions now. And I knew Bill from that point forward. That was in, I believe, 1974, 1975. And so I've known him ever since then. Now, the last time I saw him, I asked him a question that he sort of dodged. And it was asked in a way that I kind of regret, because I accused him of something. And I'm going to verify the facts on it, and I'll be writing about it this week on johnwren.com. I thought about talking about it here, but I just don't want to say anything that's not absolutely true. But there is one part of Bill's life that I think he may regret. I want to talk to Will and others, and I believe it's part of what motivated him to do the great job he did with Colorado Christian University. I think that if that's true, that he will have shared it with some people, and they would understand that, we need to take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Bill would agree with that. I am convinced, but I will be checking it out first. And part of it is this Jesus, Jesus, Jesus that we're going to be using, because what we want to do is to reach out to people, not that are the party leaders in their neighborhood right now. If you're an active Republican, an active Democrat, keep up the good work. And this caucus Corps will cooperate with you. And we want to strengthen precincts that don't have that kind of strong, good leadership. If you're a strong, good precinct leader, I think you'll appreciate where we're coming from. And that will be our primary concern, is at the grassroots level, that there's a good pair of committee people on both major parties, and that newcomers into the precinct are welcomed. And we'll be doing the welcoming on behalf of both parties, or both parties may want to do their own. We're not going to be contentious about it. The other thing will be making absolutely sure that we don't elect state chairmen in either party that are the pathetic thing that these two existing state chairmen have been up to this point. Now, maybe they'll recant and change, and certainly forgiveness is possible, but there were two people that were 90% responsible for the disaster with the Colorado Caucus March 1st, and Rick and Steve are the state chair of the two major parties, and they should be hanging their head in shame. Instead, they're out trying to kill the caucus. But they did a terrible job. They were on TV together the weekend before the March 1st caucus here in Colorado, the weekend before, when they should have been out working, trying to help their district, their county people getting ready, educating, motivating. Instead, they're on TV talking about what a pathetic thing the caucus system is and how we have to get rid of it. That's the weekend before the caucus. Now, if they'd done it the weekend after and they tried their best, maybe some of their criticism, would have some validity, but it does not at all. They both need to be replaced, or their attitude needs to be changed. The attitude of the state chair is critical. They're entrusted with an incredibly complex system. and their leadership is vital. They don't do all the work themselves. You know, they shouldn't even get all the publicity. They should have other people out speaking on their behalf. And all you hear is Steve House, Steve House, Steve House. He doesn't have other people speaking up for the Colorado caucus because he has this crazy idea that we can have a presidential primary and the Colorado caucus. That's impossible. We know that for sure because we've tried it here in Colorado. I don't think Steve maybe realized that. I don't think he's been active that long. But in Colorado, we've tried the presidential primary. We didn't like it, and we've gone back to the Colorado caucus, but it requires good leadership. And when we tried the presidential primary, it almost killed the caucus, and we still haven't fully recovered from that. We need good leaders, and we'll be doing that also. The third thing that we'll be doing is defending the Colorado caucus if it's attacked on the ballot this fall. And there's a wealthy individual in California that's committed to putting $1 million into trying to kill the caucus if something gets on the ballot. They're out trying to collect signatures. So please, just don't sign petitions this year. You know, there's nothing out there really that I think is something that needs to be signed, so just don't sign them. If they were good measures, they'd already have plenty of signatures. We're down to the final couple of weeks. You're going to be harassed in front of grocery stores. Just say no. Don't sign any petitions. We urge you to do that. If they do get enough signatures and get on the ballot, we're going to have to raise about $1 million. Would we rather spend $1 million of Colorado money on other worthwhile projects? No, it's not my million, but we'll set a process in place that will result in raising $1 million to fight this. Now, the Colorado Senate is doing hearings. There's no need for an initiative. The Colorado Senate is going to have another session on the Western Slope. They'll have 2 or 3 more. Everybody, and then they're going to give a thoughtful process, and maybe there are some changes that need to be made. But there's no need for an initiative. Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, if you're a member, call up your president and say, stop the insanity. Stop this petitioning process for an initiative that is worse than worthless. You know, they're behind it. It's Initiative 98, I believe. Don't sign any initiative, though, because they may sneak it by you. So they don't have the signatures yet. At least they haven't brought them down. I don't think they've got them. But if they do, we will fight it. So those are the 3 things. We're going to cooperate with the local precinct committee people, make sure they're in place, and supporters of the caucus will make sure that the county chairs are supportive of the caucus. We'll make sure that the state chairs are supportive of the caucus system. And then we will fight any caucus killing measure that comes up as an initiative or in the Colorado Senate as a result of these hearings. If they do something wacky, we'll fight it. We've been prevailed in 2002. The 2002 Save the Caucus, which was a different group, but in 2002, fought Amendment 29. We were outspent 1,400 to 1, but we won 60%, 40% because people in Colorado loved the caucus, that had that good experience with it prior to the presidential primary. And so we appealed to those people who are mostly dead now. Bill Armstrong was a big part of why we were successful. He was at every organizing meeting. We met in Joanne Gray's house for the first 2 or 3 meetings. And then he was part of the ongoing committee that saved the caucus in 2002 by defeating Amendment 29. Bill's not here now. Neither's Joanne Gray. Now, most of the people that loved the caucus have died. And so we are vulnerable, and we'll need your help to fight it if it gets on the ballot. We'll be talking with you more. Go to the hearings, make your voice heard, and it's the best networking event in the state of Colorado. You will meet people if you become just a little bit involved that you'll never meet in any other way. Starting in your own neighborhood, in your own county, in your own state, and if you want, go on to the national. Now, finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about, we're just about out of time. At least I'm about out of steam. We're going to maybe stop just a couple of minutes early today. But the GOP is having their convention. Delegates, vote your conscience. Bill Armstrong voted his conscience. I want to say this about Bill Armstrong and what happened back in 1976. He, a sitting congressman, still had to be elected back then to be a delegate to the RNC. I think it ought to be that way still. But he was a 5th Congressional District representative, and he asked for the votes of the people at the 5th Congressional District Assembly, which nominated him for Congress. This is the same group, and now he comes back and asks for their vote, and he is the only one that asked for the vote as anything other than a committed Reagan delegate that got elected. And he had to give a good talk. And here's what he said. You know, others have committed to Reagan. That's fine. That's your choice. But it makes a lot more sense to go open-minded. Now, it's very likely I'll like Reagan, which in fact he did. And it's very likely I'll end up voting for him for the same reasons that you're suggesting now. But we should go back there with open minds. And if we go back just totally committed to Ronald Reagan, he's not going to talk to us, and neither is Gerald Ford. So I'm going to go back uncommitted, but I do like Ronald Reagan. And in fact, he did end up voting for Ronald Reagan, but he went back and made a final choice based on full information. He explained these reasons for that, and he really was encouraging Colorado voters to wake up and do it that way too. Now, that's the way it ought to be done. That's the way it is done. And if you're in Cleveland and a delegate, or if your friend is in Cleveland and a delegate, you need to start tweeting. You need to make phone calls. Dump Trump. He's not a Republican. He's poison. They bring up this bogus argument. Well, Trump's better than Clinton. That is not the question at the convention. The question is Trump, yes or no? No, no, no. Jesus, 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 please, I am appealing to you. Please oversee this process and defeat Donald Trump. He's bad for not just the Republican Party, he's bad for the country. So do everything you can to influence the delegates to just say no to Trump. Whoever they come up with will be better than Trump and have a better chance. My prediction is if Trump gets the nomination, he'll do just what Gerald Ford did, which I think Bill could see in his eyes and why he supported Reagan. Jerry Ford got the nomination and went and took a vacation in Vail. I expect that's what Trump will do. May even be in agreement with the Clintons. Who knows? I've posted a picture of Trump and the Clintons. They're so friendly. You know, what a great way to win the election contest. Once he gets the nomination, he can just lay down, not do any campaigning. And that's my prediction if he gets it. So in Cleveland, delegates, just say no. If you're not in Cleveland, call those who are. Tweet about it. Dump Trump. We'll be back next week and talk about how to get started. And we'll have people here with us to tell us how they did it. Where did the idea come from? How did they go from that first idea to the first sale? I'll tell you this, I've never met one person that has done it the way the SBA says you should. If you have, please call me. I've made this appeal for over 20 years. Nobody has ever done it. You know, maybe you won a business plan competition. Maybe you raised venture capital, lived a nice life yourself, but did it create a successful businesses? And there are some, I'm sure. But out of I used to say 1 million businesses that start every year, it's about half that now. Out of the 500,000 that start, maybe there's 5, 6 that start with formal market research, formal strategic planning, like I was taught to do in graduate business school. The others, it's like snowflakes. They're a startup. I know it's a snowflake, but each one is very unique. And I believe the reason for that is that there is this mystical divine quality to what people are inspired to do. We see that in artists, the muses. Willie Nelson says he doesn't write the music, he just writes it down. And those who are inspired to start a new business that's successful very often are that same way. So we'll talk with you more about it next week. This afternoon, Panera Bread Cafe, Lodo, Market and 16th. And we'll be starting at 4:30. I get there about 4 and get a bite to eat. But about 4:30 at 6 o'clock, same place, Socrates Cafe, or also Socrates Cafe tomorrow at University of Denver. Information about all this on our site, smallbiz startupchamber.org with links there, or give me a call, 303-861-1447. This is John Wren, the Startup Show, reminding all of us the lesson that Bill Armstrong knows so well, the people at his funeral today know so well. It's in the front of our mind. Make each day count, because this life is very short. Let's go get started. Thanks for watching.